Welcome to the Orlando Sentinel's editorial board interview for school board in the 8th largest school district in the country, Orange County. These candidates are vying to fill the seat currently held by Pam Gould. District 4 covers West and Southwest Orange counties. Joining us today are Kyle Roger Goudy, who works in business development at NBC Universal and has worked with a variety of organizations that are student-oriented, including ones that help students prepare for college, and his family also funds a scholarship program. Next, we have Jake Petroski, a former teacher and coach in Orange County who's continued to volunteer. He carries the endorsement of several of the unions linked to Orange County schools. And Ann Douglas, who was a teacher in local public schools for over 25 years and actually is currently working as a teacher, a reading teacher. We will get started with the first question now, which is some really good news that we got recently. The Orange County School District got an A rating this year again, which is worth celebrating. And there are some tremendous success stories in individual schools as well. But what should Orange County do to keep this rating and to improve schools rated C or D? And let's start with Mr. Goudy.
Yeah, thank you for having us today. So it was big news, and I was happy to see that Orange County was A-rated. And I know it's in compared to 2023, 77 schools were A-rated against 60. So I think sometimes there is a temptation to, as a candidate, provide ideas on things you can do better, and that's certainly important, and we'll do that. But I think it's also important to acknowledge that there is a lot of good work being done. And I think, as it relates to improving these schools that are C and D rated, I think it's important that we work in unity with all of the agencies involved to make sure we're advancing those schools. And so what does that mean? Obviously, funding comes from a variety of different resources. That's the state, that's property taxes, that's the county. And so I think we really need to make sure that when it comes to public education, and this starts with the governor, that there's ample resources for the schools. Look, there's no secret that, there was a 9% raise that was given out last year, and I think that's great. It's a really good start. But I also think that, with the expansion of school choice, there's going to become decisions that need to be made about funding and that money that comes out from school choice and goes to other schools. So we really need to have a plan on how we're going to backfill that money that goes to whether it's homeschool, private school, because at the end of the day, we need as many resources in the classroom as possible. And whether that's at a high performing or an underperforming school, we need to make sure whether that's paraprofessionals, teachers, that these people are being properly compensated and that they have the resources they need. And that can be human capital, right? Having enough bodies in the classrooms to support these places. So I really think we need to work in unity with all the parties involved in funding to make sure that the resources are there for all the schools.
Thank you. Ms. Douglas, same question.
Yes, I'm really excited about being in a school again. District this year. It's very exciting, especially for us as teachers to know that we in A school we get a little bit more money because of the A school. We appreciate that greatly. However, we also need to remember that we have issues that we really need to tackle, which is teachers' retention. Our teachers are leaving the professions in droves, and that's also due to lack of academic freedom. I can just give you a story of my story, actually. I've been, just like I mentioned before, I've been a teacher for over 25 years. And last year, I removed all my books. As a reading teacher, I need books in the classroom. I removed all my books because I was told that if there was a book that was not a state government approved, I could be in trouble or worse, charged with felony. So these type of restrictions put a lot of stress on teachers, and that also is one of the main reasons why a lot of teachers are leaving the professions. We have never really gotten paid. We have never really received a good pay as teachers, to tell you the truth. It's been always low, okay? But we are not teachers because of the pay. We are teachers because it's a calling. We love our students. We love our teachers. We have great teachers in Orange County, and we don't want them to leave. We want to continue to partake and impart the quality education to our students, and that's our goal.
Mr. Petroski.
Yeah, no, first of all, I want to congratulate the district and the county, because that is a great achievement. On the other hand, too, I would like to say that I don't put too much emphasis on our school grades and the high stakes testing that we put on kids and teachers as a end all be all measuring stick of a good education. So I would like to first say that. But as far as to continue the great work that OCPS is doing and teachers are doing, I think we got to go get back to the cause of some of our challenges, and some of my colleagues here kind of alluded to that, but we have to invest in our teachers, right? And there's not a teacher shortage going on right now, and I've been caught saying that as well, and I have to correct myself. There's not a teacher shortage. There's a funding shortage with our educators, and it's been that way for years, and it's time for things to change. There are plenty of educators out there that are coming out of accredited institutions with education degrees and things of that nature, people that maybe didn't go to school to be an educator but want to be an educator. We have to open up those pathways and those avenues to get good educators into our schools, and we have to fund them, right? It's an investment problem on our end, not just the district's end, but the state's end. The state has drastically underfunded and underpaid our teachers for years and years. What can we do to continue our success, though? I will say this. Our immediate threat is obviously the ESSER funding going away, right? We have to figure out creative ways to eliminate what we can, but keep what is most important: social services, mental health, extra tutoring, things of that nature that will directly benefit student success is what we need to continue the district's success.
Thank you for that answer. I will bridge over into another topic. Simple question, but please assess the performance of School Superintendent Maria Vasquez. And we will start with Ms. Douglas.
Oh my goodness, what a question, really. Please assess, okay. I think as far, depending on what subject we're talking about, as far as the career and technical schools, I think OCPS has done a great job to partner with different schools to make it happen. We have medical programs. We have culinary for the kids that want to do a different career and don't want to go to college. We have dual enrollment. We have magnet programs. These are fantastic programs that have been going right now in Orange County Public School, and that I applaud truly. And we need to amplify those. We need to amplify these programs. Parents need to know that there are so many diverse opportunities for the kids out there, not only college, but other pathway to have a great future. As far as the funding, it's really not, just like a school board is between the hard place, the rock and hard place, really, truly. It's not the decision. The money is coming from above, and it's difficult to distribute this money properly to different areas. But they definitely have an effort to serve our special kids, ESOL kids, ESC students, and provide programs that will enrich and remediate reading, intensive reading. So yeah, there are some good things, but there are things that we need to work on as well.
Thank you for that. Mr. Petroski, same question.
I think Dr. Vasquez has done a very good job in a very difficult time with public education the last few years. I think one of her biggest challenges are two things. One is communication. We live in a very, very richly diverse community, which is absolutely awesome. I'm a big believer that our diversity makes us stronger. But it does make certain challenges harder. For instance, communication. And she has done a very good job of getting out in the community and addressing the needs of the community with different town halls. She's instituted different, much more diverse language outreach programs, whether it's electronic communication, so on and so forth. So I give her much credit on that, and she has been a great face of our district. You know, I do think there could be improvements as well. When I talk about communication from the district leaders down to the actual teachers themselves, I think there could be improvements in that communication. I think the district hasn't done a great job with all the legislation that has come out with some of the House bills. House Bill, let me think, 1557, the Don't Say Gay bill. There was a lot of miscommunication about what teachers can and can't do moving forward with that. And I think some of that communication from the top down, that's just one example. And I know that's a hot button issue, but that's one example of things we could improve on from district leadership. But overall, she's done a fantastic job. I give her kudos. It's been a very hard few years in public education, and she seems to be tackling the challenges head on. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Goudy, same question.
Yeah, so I agree with a lot of what everybody just said. I think Ann hit the nail on the head with the expansion and renovation of our technical campuses. And one specific thing that I haven't heard yet that I really credit her with is the cell phone policy, right? I think we all are very aware how addicted our kids are to cell phones. And I think by eliminating cell phones in schools, you help to eliminate some of the distractions. And I even saw recently, I believe it was Lake County, but one of the districts is taking those sleeves that you can put a cell phone in during the day, and the student's cell phone goes into a sleeve, and that way really assures that those things aren't being used during school. Because if you've been in any high school before this policy, you would see AirPods and cell phones, and that is a constant battle for the attention of the students. And certainly if the students aren't paying full attention, they're not going to learn well, right? So I think that was a great policy. We talked about earlier how the A grades went up. Certainly Vasquez and the entire team deserve some credit for that. They've been at the leadership. It's a lot of times easy to shoot arrows at people when you're an outsider. I think they've done a lot of good things. I do think there's opportunities for improvement. Transportation is one of those things. Currently we're 100 drivers short of where we need to be for busing. And this creates a litany of issues. So whether that's students, showing up late to school or waiting a long time after school. I was actually lucky enough to tour one of the high schools in District 4 after school hours. And I was shocked to see the crowd of kids that were waiting for a bus in the cafeteria. And so when students are unsupervised in a manner like that, this is not any criticism of the transportation team, because their hands are tied. We need to figure out a way to get more bus drivers and alleviate our current bus drivers.
Thank you for that. The next question, and we've touched on this a little bit, but what more can the district do to retain and recruit teachers beyond increasing pay? And let's start with Mr. Petroski.
Sure. Thank you. That's a great question. So beyond pay, I think what we have to do is look at the retainment of teachers and attracting teachers as the compensation package as a whole. And right now I feel like it's getting too chopped up where we talk about pay and there's a historic pay raise, but then the district comes back and, the increase insurance by the same percentage points or whatever, where the teacher's paycheck equals out or is minimal gain. So we got to start thinking about compensation a little bit differently and more creative, I think, with educators, unfortunately, because if we're not getting funding from the state, we got to somehow hit it from the back end. So I think we have to continue to create policies that take less administrative time off the teacher's plate or educator's plate. We gotta let the teachers teach and focus on innovative lesson plans. But we also have to open up new pathways. And I think when we got back to Dr. Vasquez, partnering with Valencia is a good example of opening those new pathways to new people into the system, new educators, direct connects, with community colleges, maybe to UCF or other 4-state four-year state universities is a great way to do it. But we have to look at compensation as a whole and what can we do to attract people here. We live in the greatest community, maybe in the Southeast, maybe in the entire country. People come here from all over the world to visit. Why can't we attract the greatest educators? We have great educators here, but we need to keep them here. So we have to look at affordable or workforce living, right? We could think big picture. Let's get these people into affordable living situations with the county, maybe partner with the county for affordable housing, things of that nature, to really let their paychecks go further. Our educators are struggling and they should not be working two jobs. That's unacceptable in a county like ours.
Thank you. Mr. Goudy, same question.
Yeah, so I agree with a lot of what we just heard there. The one thing I would say is, I think, again, sometimes there's more nuance to these things than just high level things like they increase the insurance. I don't think that was something the county did because they wanted to do it. I think that was something they did because they had to do it, right? There are budgets that we have to adhere to, and we have to make sure that we're being fiscally responsible for the long-term success of the county. So, you know, certainly from the people that I've spoke with, that was a difficult decision that was not made lightly. And I think we need to also be able to see it from both sides. Obviously, you know, I'm the product of two public educators, right? I joke sometimes that I quite literally wouldn't be here if it weren't for public education, because my teachers or my parents met as teachers. And so I have complete respect and empathy for teachers. And Jake nailed it, that it's a sad day when you have two teachers that can't live in the community that they teach in. But one other extension of this, and I touched on it a little bit earlier, but I do want to emphasize too that all of these ideas I have come from teachers, right? I see myself as a vehicle. This isn't about Kyle Goudy. I've been lucky enough to meet hundreds of teachers, and these ideas come from them. So, but that idea is that, you know, it's, and Ann knows this as well, it's not just the teachers. One of the schools recently had to let go one of their, another resource that wasn't a teacher, but this particular gentleman spoke the native tongue of Creole, and the school they were in had a lot of that language. And so I think when you lose an employee like that, it makes the job of the teachers even more difficult. Now, that school wasn't in District 4. That teacher happened to live in District 4, so that's how I met her. But she was really concerned about the overall well-being of the school, losing this guy who she kind of called the kid whisperer, right? So certainly we need to support our teachers. We need to make sure these additional resources are in place and look at it from a holistic view.
Okay, my turn.
Yes, go ahead, Ms. Douglas.
I think what we need to, the teachers' morale is really low right now. We need to recognize the teachers' work. We need to let them know that they matter, okay? That the work that they're doing matter. We have to find ways also to reduce the load of teachers in the classroom. Okay, they have so much to do, and I can really concur to that. Okay, we have to review the drop program so we can make sure that the teachers stay in school and continue to teach. We have to provide them with more mental resources for our students, for themselves as well. We have to offer professional development opportunities to teachers to continue to work and to better themselves. We have to also give performance-based bonuses for teachers that are doing very well. Offer mentorship program for teachers. All these things are very important. Yes, the pay is great. We really will appreciate not to have to work 2 or 3 jobs, and mostly not to be broke after 3 months of not working. Right now, okay, because we have no pay for 3 months. Okay, that's, I just wanted to let you know. It's really difficult. Okay, so all these things could be also a solution to retain our teachers and to let them stay in the classroom. Let them teach, appreciate them. They are professionals. They know what they're doing. They went to school for that. Some of us have master's degree. Some of us have doctorate degrees. We know what we're doing. We just need to be appreciated and recognized.
Thank you for that. I wanted to jump over and talk about student absences. According to the most recent numbers, which were for the 2021 school year, Orange County had a 27.5% rate of chronically absent children. Now, that's not the worst in the state, and of course, that was during some of the most virulent of COVID. Still, that's a lot of kids spending a lot of time out of school. What more should Orange County do to make sure that children are in school when they're supposed to be? And let's start with Mr. Goudy.
Yeah, so that's a critically important question. And I do think some of this ties into our transportation as well. If students aren't sure about when they're going to be picked up and how they're going to get to school in a consistent and timely manner, I think sometimes that's the stem of this problem. But I think we also need to identify the chronically absent, right? When you have situations like this is coming from a specific group of people generally. And I think we need to work hard to communicate with those families and see what's going on. Because I'm really against generalizing things. I think if you have 27% of kids that are chronically absentee, you'd probably have 100 different reasons why. And also, I think this is an opportunity to leverage technology. So if there are issues that can't be solved by transportation or other ways, I think we need to lean on our Orange Virtual, Florida Virtual programs to make sure that those students are equipped to do it from home if that's going to be the most, successful route for them. So I think, again, this is where the county and the schools need to really know their constituents, because, again, this is not the majority of students, and I would say especially in District 4, but the ones that are chronically absent, we need to be actively engaging these families. And then when we do get them back to school, we need to make sure we're not burying them in work. If they've missed a week of school and then they come back and they're overwhelmed by all of this work they have to do, that's not going to help the problem. So we need to make sure we're working to understand our families and their needs. And if that means one-to-one communication between somebody who's chronically absent and the counties and the schools, then that's what we need to do. Schools are meant to serve the community, and not everybody in the community has the same needs. And look, right now the economy is difficult. I know it in my own personal situation. People are working a lot of times 2 jobs. And so parents are stretched thin, and we need to make sure we're supporting them and accommodating them, not having them accommodate to the schools.
Thank you for that. And Ms. Douglas.
Yes. I just want to say that there's a great effort in Orange County to communicate with parents, closely with parents. Let them know where the kids are at all times. And we have, I think we did one call for parents once a day, but I think nights twice a day after what happened with the incident with Madeline in Florida. I think that really helped it tremendously bringing those kids to school, because they're coming to school because parents know where they are at all times. And the only things that I would say, the communication, the closeness with parents, talking to parents closely, having that a relationship with parents, can call them at any time to let them know where your kids are and what's going on in the classroom. I think it's very important. But we also need to think about communicate in different languages, because a lot of this communication is in English. A lot of our parents don't speak English. So parents, we can call them, but they don't understand what we're talking about. So they don't know where the kids are. So we need to make sure that we have that communication in different languages so that the parents know what we're talking and what we want to communicate to them. Because a lot of my kids come to class knowing that their parents didn't know what the call was about. So they got away with it. And they can tell their parents whatever they want to tell them. And that's very important. So that communication, the closeness and relationship with parents is the key to me to bring our kids to school, to let them come to school daily. That's my take on it.
Thank you. Mr. Petroski, same question.
There we go. Thank you. Sorry, I apologize for that. Yeah, it's definitely a complex puzzle. But I'll hit some main points I think would help the most. We have in Orange County, it is richly diverse. We have over 199 countries represented here, and like Ann said, there are over 150, I believe, dialects and languages spoken at OCPS. So getting that information out, we have to remember that I believe around 45% of our population, student population, is Hispanic, 24% white, 24% Black, 5% Asian, and 3% multiracial. But so we have to really be conscious of the communication we're sending out. Is it efficient? Is it clear? So parents and families know what's going on. The second thing we can do is we can really leverage technology, I think, now more than we could in the past. Technology offers us those things much more conveniently than we don't have to, scan or copy 100 different packets of paper to send home. We can do this pretty efficiently now. So we really have to leverage that technology. And to touch on the transportation issue, I think there are things there with technology we can do as well to make it more reasonably reliant for families and students. We can use AI to build real-time bus lines and bus routes. So it's not just the bus driver going to the same routes every day. It's literally changes based on who's on the bus, not just who should be on the bus. So that could make things more efficient and more reliant on our bus transportation. And it goes back to the ESSER funding as well. We got to continue to fund the social and mental health care for our students to keep them in schools, to keep them engaged in those outreach programs, because without that, after COVID, kids have a serious mental, serious mental issues going forward. Are the science is there, so we need to address that.
Thank you. So last year, Orange County dropped its sex education program after the state failed to inform local officials of whether or not the program passed muster. Do you believe this was the correct response? Let's start with Mr. Petroski.
I think the state the state did drop the ball. Let's make it clear. It wasn't the district. The district sent in the information, the curriculum in time. The state did not approve it in time to be put on. I think the state the district would have been okay using what we'd always used in the past. I think sometimes the district plays it a little conservatively as far as what they can and cannot do. Other districts went back to what they used in the past and was absolutely fine. So, I think we should have done that. Hindsight is 2020, but the state really dropped the ball on that. And I think that's an important topic for kids. I have a daughter who's now going into ninth grade at Olympia. I have a fourth grade daughter at Thornbrook Elementary, but all wonderful schools. But that is science, and kids should be taught that material by professionals. Because what happens is when they don't get taught that material by professionals, they're on the phones, they're on the internet, even in 5th and 6th grade. So this is science we're teaching about the change in human bodies, in that time period of a child's life. And there's nothing wrong with it. It should be taught. Hopefully things will go back to being how they were with that. But to me, it is a needed piece of curriculum in our schools, and it benefits so many kids because kids are going through these changes and they need to know that it's all okay and that they're okay and that everything is going to be okay with what's going on with their bodies.
Thank you. Mr. Goudy, what do you think?
Yeah, so I actually tend to agree with most of what Jake just said there, but I do think that if the state wants to have a requirement for the county to teach outside of the state curriculum, and then you have a county like Orange County who takes the time to develop the curriculum and submit it, that the state needs to get back to them in a timely manner. So I don't think it's right to have these types of regulations if when the counties do what you want them to do, you're not going to grant them the privilege or deny it. I think if you weren't okay with what Orange County proposed, then you need to give them due time to either adjust it or, as Jake mentioned, use what they've used in the past. So to have missed that opportunity for a year is, disappointing on a lot of levels. And, it is an important thing, right? This is something that kids are going through development, and a lot of their time is spent in school. So for us to have just missed that for a year is sad. And I think, I'm really against politicizing schools, and this to me feels like politicizing schools. So this is something that is a core understanding. I think everybody on this can remember the, sex education that they had in school. So it is important. And I think to have missed that opportunity because of what feels like maybe something that was politically motivated is disappointing. And again, if they weren't okay with what Orange County submitted, they should have let them know so and make adjustments so that we didn't have this situation that we fell into.
Thank you. Ms. Douglas?
I would rather have kids learning sex education in school than having it on their phones and learning all type of other things that they're not supposed to be looking at and seeing and So this is a professional course. It's taught professionally, okay? It's age appropriate. So it's not something that we're just doing just to do, is to teach them about their body, is to inform them of what could happen, okay, and what they can do or cannot do. So I really believe that the sex education in the professional arena, it's a good thing, and it can help our students to know more about who they are and how they are made of, and the morphology and everything that is inside. So that's great. I think it's great. It's good. Yeah, just like I said, instead of the phones, it's better learning sex education in school.
Thank you so much. Florida has been reasonably flush with cash over the past few years, but when federal COVID funding dries up, which it's going to be doing very soon, per pupil education spending, which is one of the biggest line items in the state budget, could be impacted and probably will. What should Orange County do if state funding for public education drops by a significant amount? And if you could, as part of your answer, address whether you would consider an additional tax levy to make up the local portion of school funding. And let's start with Ms. Douglas.
Okay. I know that we had about $800 million for during COVID, and I think this money is going away. So it's really leaving a big gap in our funding. But we also have the millage, which is great, and it's been there. It's an extension, and we want to renew that millage because it helps pay for the teachers, for special education, for tutoring programs, to pay for my salary, and all this good stuff. So we really need to continue and approve that millage because it's important to us. And also we need to push the grant, make sure that people feel educational grants, so we can have more money, more funding for different areas that we need, and also and have that closeness with the community, because the community can sponsor programs and help us in the public education to make things better, to make things happen in our public school. So yes, our funding is really squeezed, and we don't have much, but there are options that we can also take to get funding out there.
Thank you so much. Mr. Goudy, same question. What are the local options when and if state funding takes a hit?
Yeah, so at least according to the State of the Schools address, there's going to be a $27 million gap when this funding does dry up. So I don't think it's an if situation. I think it's a when situation. And I'm sure all of us agree on this, but we definitely need to be in support of the upcoming millage, because and Ann mentioned it wisely, it is an extension. This was something that passed in 2002 and in 2014. So this is not a new tax. I also think it's important for people to understand half of that tax is paid by visitors, right? Through sales tax. So this is not something that's going to be 100% on the community. A lot of it is paid by our tourism industry. But look, this is something that has helped us reduce portables by 75%. So this money is critical to what we're doing. It will also help us with hardware. But I think a lot of times people think about budgets from the revenue side. I think we also need to look at expense management. And recently we've had a very public waste of taxpayer dollars with the Windermere High School football stadium and athletic complex. This was a complex that was built off-site in 2017 at Scott Pine Park, I believe is the name. And now this year will be reopening on campus where it should have been in the first place. And so that's millions of dollars just in that one situation that was wasted by building it off-site. And I really feel like that came down to a lack of leadership. In 2017, this went in front of the county commission and the school board, and the neighbors, which understandably so, were concerned about the noise, the traffic, the things that, you know, people are concerned about with these situations. Well, I live in the Orange Tree neighborhood of Dr. Phillips. The high school is adjacent to our neighborhood. So yeah, there are some Friday nights where I hear a football game. But you know what? I understand that this is what's best for the students. And that issue caused all kinds of other issues with transporting kids to and from. And now they're doing it on campus where it should have been the first time. So it's not only a revenue side, we need to manage our expenses responsibly. And that's the role of the district.
Thank you, Mr. Petroski.
Yeah, I think I think what we're touching on here is the ESSER funding, where we're expected to have a $28 million shortfall, or that's what's going to sunset with legislation. And there's really nothing we can do about that. We knew that was coming. And I've attended a lot of the school board workshops over the past year, last 6 months. They've started to address this where they've actually just brought in almost every single department that receives ESSER funding to try to prioritize, right? We to try to prioritize which programs that they can keep around and shift money around to keep, and which ones that may have to go on the chopping block. And those are going to be very hard decisions to make as this does sunset. I think a big portion of that funding went to mental and social work outreach programs in our schools, the extra tutoring. Some did, it touched on, they also paid for the IXL math programs and things like that. So we got to take a look at the data and see what really positively impacts the students the best. And that's what they've been doing over the last 6 months. And I can say this, that I think, where my priorities lie are in the mental and social services for our students, because that is such a critical function right now. As far as per pupil spending or funding by the state, it is going to go down. And it has gone down the last few years anyway. When you take into effect inflation, the amount of buying power with that money per pupil has gone down, even though it might show it as going up in funding. So, we've got to be wiser with our money. We got to be fiscally responsible at every step. But we have to also always make sure that what we're doing doesn't negatively impact the children, because the kids have to come first. So that's got to be our number one priority.
Thank you. Please assess the way Orange County is handling challenges to books and other educational materials. What changes would you recommend? And let's start with Mr. Goudy.
Yeah, so I talk to a lot of people, and this is the most common thing we get asked about. I don't know about Ann and Jake, but so certainly it's something that matters to our community. And look, I ask people how long they have when they ask me about this, because I do believe there's a lot of nuance, and often it gets framed with two extremes, right? You're either somebody who wants disgusting content in the schools, or you're a book banner. And I think there's more to it than that. So look, it starts with trusting our media center specialists. Those are the people who are trained to handle this topic. And then parents at home. Parents are invested in their kids' education, and they're the ones that should be, in decision of what kids are reading and not. So I also think that this tends to distract a little bit from the literacy crisis that we have in Orange County. We have 47% of third graders, and Ann can speak to this better than anybody. We have a lot of kids who aren't reading proficiently, and I think our resources, time, and attention should really be on that. We need to trust our media center specialists. And, if down the road there were a way to come up with ratings for books, I mean, just like a movie, right? You would never send a kid to a rated R movie. You wouldn't send a 7-year-old to a rated R movie. Now, that's something that would take time. Video games are the same way. Music is the same way. So we have ratings for a lot of our media out there. I think that's potentially something we could do with books to give parents better idea of, age appropriateness. But, look, the story that Ann told earlier is so sad about being afraid of having a book in your library. And I think that's fundamentally wrong. Our teachers are dealing with so many issues already. For them to have to worry, oh, do I have this book in my library and I could either get in trouble or lose my job? That's wrong. I'm totally against that. I do believe kids should be reading age appropriate books, but I believe that our media center specialists are fully capable of making sure that's happening. Our teachers like Ann are fully capable of making that happen. So let's focus on literacy and trust our teachers and media center specialists.
Thank you. Mr. Petroski.
Yeah, I'm gonna, I don't, to me, this is a manufactured crisis or problem. There's never been an issue with books. When we were growing up, years afterwards, we've always trusted the media specialists to have age appropriate content and resources in there, along with our teachers. And it's, to me, it's very sad because it's very dangerous to have government sponsored censorship in our schools, public schools. And that's really what it is. When they're actually regulating the free thinking and free choice of students and the literature that they can have in schools. And to me, that's a slippery slope, because I'm not, some parents might not think what I pick for my child is appropriate, and what I might not think what they pick for their child is appropriate. So, to me, it's a slippery slope when government starts getting involved with this sort of censorship in our public schools and libraries. To me, it was never an issue before. I went to public school. My wife went to public school. And so it's scary to me when I see my youngest daughter's classrooms. I go down in her elementary school, and the classrooms used to have class sets of books, and now they don't. Most of them don't have classroom library sets because of the way the legislation is written. Everything falls under instructional material, and that includes material at the library. So, not only are they fearful of getting their professional licenses revoked, but they don't have the time to go through and barcode every single book in their classroom and put it into a computer system. Teachers don't have that kind of time. When we talk about retaining teachers, okay, we got to start with things like that. That is nonsensical to ask a teacher to barcode and put in every single piece of literature in her classroom. That, to me, that makes no sense. And we can do a better job. Thank you.
Okay. Just wanted, I agree with Kyle and Jake with everything that they've said. Listen, if there were any books with any pornography or anything, we would have known it, because trust me, those kids can talk. We know everything that happens on campus. You hear me? We would have known that in no time. Okay, so I think we really need to trust our librarian. They know, they're professionals, they know what they're doing. The books that we have at the library are age appropriate for all our kids. And we need to trust the system, and we need to trust our professionals that they know what they're doing. And we also need to respect them, because that's the thing. The lack of respect brings that mistrust, and that's a problem. We used to hold our teachers in high standards, respect them, because they are the ones that impart their knowledge to our kids so that they can become better citizens in society. So now it's become that we don't trust the librarian, we don't trust the teachers. Everybody wants to check what they're doing, and everybody wants to have a say on how they teach in the class and what they do and all these things. So we really need to trust the system. We are parents as well. Not only we are teachers, but we are parents, and we would not teach anything that is not, appropriate to any kid. Okay, so I just want to say that we need to trust the system. We need to trust the librarian, and we do not want politics to get into our school and just teach us, and just tell us what to do and how to do it, and what we should have in the classroom and not have in the classroom. So that is a problem, and that's the reason why a lot of our teachers are leaving the profession in droves. So yeah, that's my take on it.
Thank you. Should the school board find a legal way to sign away interest in the property it owns in Eatonville that was the former site of the Hungerford School? And let's start with Ms. Douglas.
Okay, what is the question again? Can
So should the school board find a legal way to sign over its interest in the property it owns in Eatonville that was the former site of the Hungerford School?
Okay. To tell you the truth, I'm going to be candid about that. I don't know much about Eatonville and the site over there, but what I would say is that Eatonville, it's a city. I think it's the first Black city in Florida. Okay, it belongs to the people of Eatonville. Let them have the field and let them build it, and I'm sure they're going to use it to probably educate the people of Eatonville, have a new school, maybe, I don't know. I'm not very knowledgeable in that subject. I'm sorry, I'm candid about it, but I really believe what belongs to Caesar, stay
Yep,
with Caesar.
That's fine. Thank you.
Okay?
Mr. Petroski?
Yeah, thank you. No, Ann was right. That land, being the historic place it is, does belong to the people there. And I know for a while, I don't know where we're at in the running for that. I think the museum fell through, if I'm correct, when we were in the running for that. And that was a big driving force behind it. But I don't think that the museum falling through shouldn't be dissuade the district and the other members involved from doing what's right and getting that land back to the people, because I think there could still be a viable museum there. It doesn't have to be the museum that it was projected to be, but there's still value there in that land and value there in that historic community. And one of the things as a former teacher, I always told people is that, there are teachable moments around us all the time, and really good teachers can find those teachable moments. But to me, that's an opportunity for the district to really have a good strategic partnership with the town of Eatonville, and still create something special there that we can use to educate our children, because it is a very sacred place, right? So to me, there's still opportunity there. It should move forward, regardless of how the first museum was planned and thought out, and the organizations behind that, because I think there's still a real opportunity there for a big teachable moment, and to have that as an asset in our community would be fabulous. So that's my opinion.
Thank you. Mr. Goudy?
Yeah, and so I know state law prohibits us from giving or donating the land, which is unfortunate, but I do think that there's even some potential other uses that could be with the land there that would help to bring development and tax dollars to the community. I know one of the things they're considering is a hotel and small convention center. And so if there are other ways to bring value to the community aside from the original plans with the museum, then I think those things should be exercised. And I'll bring this to a broader point, but it feels like there are times where, we find a way to know. A lot of times people say, well, you can't do this because of that. And I think with all three of us being, new to it, I hope that we bring in this enthusiasm of finding a way to yes, because there's a lot of big challenges in Orange County. This is a good example of one that, isn't really a cut and dry black and white situation. But I think with the effort and maybe even, us being new and not beaten down by all the times that you hear no, I urge that all of us really exercise that attitude of finding a way to yes, because we're going to be dealing with a lot of big challenges in the role on the school board. And again, I think this is a good example of, the board having an opportunity to get creative and figure out a way. Obviously, state law won't allow us to donate or sign over the land. So what's the next best thing we can do? And using those problem solving skills to really try and help that community. Because at the end of the day, we're all here to serve the community, right? This isn't about any of the three of us on the call right now. We are here to serve the community, and anything we can do to help with that, we need to do.
Thank you so much. We have kind of gone over the time we'd allocated, but I wanted to sneak in one more question, and it is one that we find always makes people happy to think about. Orange County has a wide variety of programs that prepare students for occupations and careers that do not necessarily involve college. Professional training, even programs that let students graduate high school with a certificate ready to go to work. in heating, air conditioning, or electricians. What areas would you like to expand Orange County's vocational and technical education opportunities? And let's start with Mr. Petroski.
Oh, awesome. I'm glad you brought this up. This is so cool for me because I spent my entire professional career when I was in a classroom as a career and tech educator. So we worked on getting kids certified with these industry certifications. And some of them still went on to four-year universities. I had students that went on to med school, law school, things of that, but they still got certified in other things while they were in school. And but for a lot of kids now, the four-year traditional plan of going to a four-year university isn't the pathway of success for them. And that's totally okay as well. So, as a school board, I see it as the job is we have to cultivate as many pathways of success for these kids as possible. And for some, it's going to be college, a degree, law school, so on and so forth. For others, it's going to be going into these VOTEC classes. And I was just down at the ribbon cutting for the downtown campus for the medical intensive over there, and it was amazing. They did such a great job down there. And one of the benefits, I went through Leadership Orange this year, and one of the benefits was being able to go to not only the Orange Tech campuses, but seeing some of those programs in our schools and how they matriculate up. And I think here on the west side, we got to keep expanding. The west side campus is going to be amazing for the trades, with building trades. And obviously with the growth out here along 429 all the way down to Herzog Road, I mean, it is exploding, and it is hard for people to find the workforce to fill these positions. So when I go out and I talk to these community leaders, business leaders, they are really excited about this opportunity, because I think it's where OCPS can really set itself apart from maybe the private schools or some of the other virtual schools, things of that nature, homeschools. We can really showcase our career and tech education and set ourselves apart as being leaders in that field. So I'm really excited about CTE and expanding that out as much as possible. That's right in my wheelhouse. Thank you.
Ms. Douglas, same question.
Yes, I do remember when I was younger, the focus was mostly on colleges. Where you're going to go to college and all that. And I'm so excited to finally have a different pathway than college. College is great, but not everybody wants to go to college. And the fact that they thought about that and they started the career technical schools, I really am so excited and pumped up about it. However, I just want to say that we need to amplify that. We need to inform parents that they have those opportunities, and the kids need to know that they also have these opportunities, because we're not speaking loud enough to let them know that this is one way you can go. Okay, you don't have to go to college if you don't want to go to college. We have program medical. We, just like Jake mentioned, we have medical. We have culinary. We have construction. I mean, all these things. Kids can use that pathway to become, who they want to become in the future. And there are some very success stories, actually, that students that actually open businesses after they went to school in career technical and make more money than teachers. Okay, so that's excellent. I love it. Okay, so I'm so excited, and we need to amplify that. We need to expand that, and we need to mostly inform our parents that there are different possibilities.
Mr. Goudy.
Yeah, so I think this is another opportunity to give grace to the current administration. I know this was something that was really important to Pam, and she was very proud of the 300% growth in certifications that came in her tenure on the board. So, kudos to her and the team who saw this early on and realized this was an opportunity. Look, I think I agree with a lot of what has been said. And I was lucky enough to earn the endorsement of the Central Florida Hotel and Lodging Association, and they represent hotels and lodging groups all around Orange County. And one of the things they expressed to me was that, the expansion of this is almost necessary to help them keep going. And so I think, even things as little as figuring out how we can get these programs in geographical locations that make sense. You know, I live over here in Dr. Phillips. Dr. Phillips High School is right across the street from Universal. So, you know, how can we potentially get some programs for hospitality at Dr. Phillips High School where those kids would have really easy access to go across the street and work for Universal? I also was lucky enough to meet with Harris Rosen, who, if you guys know anything about Harris Rosen, he's an incredible man. Truly, if you know all the work he's done in Paramore, Tangelo Park, he's done so much incredible stuff. And I think partnering with those community leaders like Harris, who's willing to give back and is a great steward, is a great way for us to drive the program forward. He has his hospitality program over on Universal. And so I think, you know, they've done a lot of good things in renovating schools, reopening the new school with kind of future looking job force. So one of the things that, you know, I use this with people and I think it resonates is that, you know, artificial intelligence isn't going to be doing plumbing anytime soon, right? And artificial intelligence is a real threat for these kids that are in school right now. A student that's starting school right now at 5, 6 years old, 12 years from now, there's not going to be the traditional service jobs we have like tax preparers or accountants. All of that stuff is going to be done by artificial intelligence. And that's, I hate to be the bearer of bad news there, but giving these kids skills like plumbing, trade skills, and all these mechanicking are integral to making sure that they have a, you know, chance for success in the future.
Everybody always loves that question. And we have come past the time that we promised we would have these candidates, but we've just enjoyed talking to them so much that we extended a little bit. But we did, before we asked them to wrap up, we did want to remind our readers that while we are going to be making an endorsement in this race, and it's going to be tough, we also want you to take a look at other sources of information. Each of these candidates has a web page. They all have social media accounts. Take a look and find the candidate that best fits your values for this very, very important race. And then just remember that you have to come out and vote on August 20th. Now, if none of these candidates gets 50% of the vote, then it will go forward to the November election. But now's a great time to make sure that you pick the candidate that you think is best for you and your family. And with that, we did use a random selector to choose the order of who goes first with their closing statements. And Mr. Goudy, you are first up.
All right. Well, I want to start by giving thanks. Thanks to anybody who's watching this video. If you've made it this far, then you clearly care about the schools. Thanks to my opponents, Ann and Jake, because I know you're taking time away from your families and you've thrust yourself into this very public process that we call the campaign. Thanks to the Sentinel for giving us a platform to communicate directly with the community. My message is a message of unity. We need to work together for the betterment of our schools. We have real problems that we need to solve, like busing, literacy rates, staff compensation, and preparing our graduates for the ever-changing nature of our future job force. We must not be distracted by the temptations of division. It will take all of us to help set our kids up for a brighter future, but I believe we can do it. I trust that the voters will do their research and be pleased with what they find on gogoudy.com. I look forward to using my education and business experience to help propel OCPS forward. I hope to earn your vote in these upcoming August elections, and you can find out more information about our campaign at gogoudy.com. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mr. Petroski, you're up next.
Thank you again for having us, and I think this is a great platform to get information out to the community. And thank you again to my colleagues running. It is a sacrifice, and it's a lot of time and time away from your family. So I want to thank everyone for that. But I just want to let everybody know that, you know, the reason I'm running, I'm a big believer in public education and the transformative, positive impact it can have on all kids' lives. You know, that's the great thing about public education. It doesn't pick and choose who gets in, who doesn't. You know, it's there for everybody, and it's guaranteed for everybody. And so, that's where my passion lies, is to be an ally for every single student. It doesn't matter, the color, the race, their LGBTQ status. We are there to educate and give an education to every single student that walks through those doors. And, and that includes teachers as well, because teachers have to feel valued and welcomed, just as the students do. And so, I'm excited to really possibly have the opportunity to cultivate those pathways of success for kids, and to create an awesome working environment for our teachers and staffs and administrators that pour their lives into educating our kids. And, it is not just during the school year, but, being a former teacher, I know the hard work that goes into being in education during the summer months, and the professional development that's involved. So I'm here to, serve the community and serve every single member of our community. I think that's important. So I want to thank everybody. Jake Petroski for schoolboard.com. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Miss Douglas, you
All
get to
right.
take us home.
I just want to start with saying thank you to Sentinel, to the Orlando Sentinel, for having us today, and giving the opportunity to speak and to give us a little bit, to get a little bit more information about who we are. We have great potential in Orange County Public School. We have great teachers in Orange County Public Schools. And instead of focusing on the non-issues, we need to really focus on the real issues, which is teachers' retention, students' safety, okay, mental health for faculty, for student, not only student, but faculty and staff as well. Make sure that we have a stronger OCPS for our students. We want to impart quality education to our students, and doing that is also going to bring our to make our community flourish. Okay, our homes value will go up. All this is a part of a process. We're all working together, okay, to make a better community. So please, let's take care of our teachers. And I am so excited to be here today. And I vote Douglas for schoolboard.com. And I am ready to fight for OCPS, for our students, our teacher, and our community. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. This has been so much fun. I really, really appreciate you taking the time to be with us. Wish you all the best of luck.